My name is Zach Wigal. I grew up in the Midwest, was born in Ohio, and then my parents, for a couple of years, moved to Colorado. My dad used to build Indy cars back in the day, race cars, so ended up landing in Michigan. That's pretty much where I spent my childhood, growing up outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan, kind of a college town in the Midwest. Snows a lot, so it gets pretty cold, and video games were definitely a thing growing up because of that. The earliest memory I have playing video games was a Super Nintendo. I got started in Super Nintendo console, but at the time, games didn't totally grab me. It wasn't until the Nintendo 64, and I have a very specific memory, and this actually happened in the Super Nintendo as well. I was at someone's house. There was a family that was like babysitting. I have a younger brother, and they're watching my brother and I. And these two kids who were a bit older than us, they were like probably middle schoolers or teenagers, they were playing Shadows of the Empire on Nintendo 64. And I remember very specifically seeing this game, seeing sort of 3D graphics for the first time, seeing the Nintendo 64 for the first time. And I went home to my parents that day and just, oh my gosh, Mom, Dad, when Christmas comes around, I know exactly what I want. It's got to be a Nintendo 64. So I had like 2 or 3 different experiences where this happened. It was once with the Super Nintendo, once with the Nintendo 64, and the third time, which in hindsight was one of my like longest lasting game addictions, was one of my cousins had Warcraft 2 Battle.net Edition. And Warcraft 2 was a PC game, kind of like real-time strategy, build a base, and he would play it online with people on the internet. And I remember seeing him play this game and thinking to myself how fun it was that you could like communicate with people on the internet. And I remember like it was a year or two. I had to like save up some money. I finally went to this like shopping mall and went to a GameStop and bought Warcraft 2. And I played that game for years. And it's funny because now I think I type as fast as I do. And I just think most PC gamers have the same experience. All because of Warcraft 2. Like I learned all my typing stroke skills from chatting to people in Warcraft 2 and needing to type really fast in the heat of a moment, because if I was being attacked, I needed to like let a teammate know, I'm dying here, please come help me. And all of my communication with typing came from that game. So I spent so much time on Battle.net, and even my younger brother and I, we would take it a step further. Back then, you could have like chatbots that would moderate clan channels, so people could kind of group up. Now you think of it like they have very formal environments like clubs, and a lot of like online services kind of have these features built in now. But at the time, at Battle.net, as you would play the game, you would sort of find out which community you most sort of belong to. Like there were actually these like specializations where people would sort of favor playing like certain types of maps. I remember being a young person thinking to myself, you know what? This isn't how I want my clan to be. I'm going to go off and make my own clan. So we would almost create like a small mutiny, and like we would like break off with like a group of others. We'd go and create our own clans, and we like made our own rules. And so our clan had like this really like horrible looking website, right? Like, but it had like a little counter on the top of it which would show how many page visitors you had. And we'd have like our clan, like a leader would be listed, and there'd be all the members, and if you got on the website, it meant you were officially a member. That was kind of like a very sort of young Zach, and I didn't have a lot of friends that also played Warcraft that lived nearby me, so there was this whole sort of like community that exists on the internet. That was like culture for me growing up on the internet, was playing games with these people. But I was always both a console gamer and a PC gamer. The PlayStation 2 was the first time I went from Nintendo to Sony. So my progression console-wise was Nintendo to Sony to Microsoft and Xbox. And the Sony jump came when I discovered Final Fantasy X. Playing through Final Fantasy X was the first time I had the chance to experience intense graphics. Like the graphics of the game, the artwork was incredible. But most importantly, the story of the game, it was the first time I played a game where the story impacted me emotionally in a very strong way. I actually cried at the end of Final Fantasy X. Yeah. I can remember it. I was in 8th grade. I remember finishing the game. Like I identified with the characters, I identified with the story, and I was so invested that I found myself, becoming emotional at the end of this game. Silent Hill 2 also was a game that I remember had a significant impact as well. I had never played really a horror game before, and it was actually like one of the first M-rated titles my parents even like let me play, which is strange thinking about now because that game is like psychologically known as being like sort of disturbing and really being kind of deep. I was so shocked at how that game kind of ended and what the game was really communicating. It was sort of like the game was really a vessel for delivering a message. And the message to me, I was so surprised because I hadn't ever experienced a time in gameplay where a message with so many levels of depth was being communicated to a player. And the more I dissected Silent Hill and like what things meant in the game, the symbolism, the music, there are actually various endings in Silent Hill, which could mean different things depending on your interpretation. I couldn't believe that somebody had actually thought to intentionally put these things in a game with that purpose, as opposed to this thing just being sort of entertaining and fun. So I think both Silent Hill 2 and Final Fantasy X represent, in again, different ways, how, to me, games became much more powerful vehicles of storytelling. And just so happened, really late one night, I saw this television program from MTV. It was MTV True Life. They had the True Life series. I'm a professional video gamer. And they were following around different pro gamers from Major League Gaming. And they were literally following out, like there's a guy, Tom Taylor, T-Square, he's a professional Halo player. They're following around Fatality and talking about how he was competing in these massive video game tournaments. And I saw this television program, and it's funny because there's a Halo player named Walshy, who's now a part of our board members, but he was on the TV show as well. So it's weird how it all kind of comes full circle. But I remember seeing this television program and thinking to myself, like, holy cow, I had no idea these nationwide tournaments even existed. I didn't even think that I would travel to them. I knew I was like 15, 14 years old. There's no way my parents were gonna let me do this. But what I did think was, you know what, running an event like this wouldn't be too hard to do in my high school. Like I saw their events on television and thought to myself, well, surely I could like borrow TVs from friends and like organize something like this in my school. And at the time, I selfishly wanted to do it around Mortal Kombat because Mortal Kombat was the game that I was good at and I wanted to get people together to play this game. I had a high school guidance counselor though, who really was the one who encouraged me. And it was actually her guidance and her just sort of general openness to this idea, which allowed it to blossom and allowed it to kind of, stay in my head for a period of time to get to the point where I was, decided to go to our community department, rent out the lunchroom. As I was talking more and more to friends, kind of collecting feedback, if you will, testing the idea, I found out that really no one was playing Mortal Kombat except for me. But what everybody was playing was Halo 2. And it was really through wanting to organize this tournament that I got introduced to the Xbox community and wanting to play more Xbox. So I started going to friends' houses during Halo 2 LANs and ended up organizing this Halo 2 tournament, originally as a way to just foster competition, because as a gamer, I thought it was a fun thing to do for the community that I got really behind. Our first tournament, we had 300 people sign up. It was the first time a tournament had happened in our area at all, which was cool because there were actually people that I ended up connecting with just from wanting to organize this event that were hardcore Halo fans that actually were familiar with MLG and were already familiar with these competitive worlds that I had no idea about, but they were actually giving me advice on how to run the tournament. They actually got like a lot of feedback from other gamers in the community. And the more we started working on this, the more and more I got really excited about this idea. To be honest, at the time, I had also just quit sports. It was actually a really transformative period personally for me throughout high school because I'd been playing like football and running track since I had been in 5th grade. And when I got to my junior year of high school, something started clicking to me where I didn't feel like I was playing football or competing in track because I wanted to do so. I was doing it because my friends were doing it. I lettered when I was really young as a freshman in track. I was running at the varsity level. We were actually state champs, like D1 state champs for school. In track and football, we were like pretty decent as well. I was like starting running back. But like, I just knew that I didn't want to do it professionally. I didn't have an interest in playing in college. And I felt like I wanted to contribute something different in video games for that outlet. So I wanted to run my Halo tournament when I was 16. It got shut down by a cop, so it actually never even happened. My very first video game tournament I wanted to run was shut down by a police officer 2 days before it was supposed to happen. The 2017 event was April 1st and 2nd. So Gamers for Giving 2017 was our last event on April 1st and 2nd last year. We had around 1,500 2000 attendees. We host the third largest LAN party in the country now, behind QuakeCon and DreamHack. And obviously the event has turned into a charity fundraiser for various reasons. The first event got shut down. We wanted to prove wrong all of the negative stereotypes around video games. But that to me ended up opening a door to getting involved in charity work when I hadn't really otherwise been involved, and also connected charity with something that I was already passionate about, which was video games. I actually also got really good at Mortal Kombat. I actually broke into like the top 40 leaderboards of Mortal Kombat Deception on PS2 at like 30,000 players. That's really what I was thinking about. Did I tell you that? Yeah.
Okay, so.
Okay. I'm a little tired too, so there. Okay. All right. Thanks.
And
Wait, what?
Action.